Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to go over quarter 3 macro analysis. We're going to have a look at Bitcoin, stocks. We're going to have a look at traditional markets, and yeah, try to create some kind of prediction or analysis to follow through. We'll have a look at quarter 3 of this year as well as quarter 4 of this year. Try to get some kind of outlook. I do think we'll be topping in quarter 4 of this year or quarter 1 of next year. So let's get straight into it with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, obviously bullish, guys. Nothing bearish about all-time highs. We are basically around all-time highs, 107K. We did catch this long over here from about 82K. We took profits above 100K. And that was a good trade, guys. That was a profitable trade for us. And Bitcoin at the moment basically forming a bull flag. You can see a bull flag over here. Like that. There's the bottom of your flag. Let's make that white. And we are currently just oscillating in this zone over here. So this would be the bull flag, and we'll be waiting for a breakout and a retest, and off we go of the bull flag. Will we get the retest? Most likely not, guys. So we'll have a look at previous breakouts and see what happens after we do get the breakout. So this has been ranging for a while now, and as expected, it has been ranging. Big range over here, of course, and we could get, there are multiple ways this could break out. So here we had a breakout, we had a range, and it broke through, and then it starts to form this bullish upward movement over here, guys. When you start to see this, it is about to pop and go off. So we saw that over here as well, over here as well, and over here as well, and you do get that explosive move to the upside. So basically what I'm seeing for Bitcoin is if we get above this bull flag, which I do think we will, just because of the liquidity on high block capital. You can see the liquidity up here coming in at 109K. So we got that liquidity over there, as well as next to my face over there, you can see the majority of the market participants are short, or they were short over there, obviously, for that Bitcoin low. That is often what happens, but they're still short at the moment, meaning that there is room for a move to the upside. So will it be a fake out or a breakout of the bull flag? We'll have to wait and see. But there is a decent measured move of this breakout, of course. Bull flag, we're going to take the move up, which was over here. That was the move up. And then we're going to measure from that low over there. And that takes us to about 135K, which is a very reasonable target. And it's actually about the halfway point of our box. So that could be the measured move for the bull flag. It does seem a little bit obvious, so maybe it doesn't happen like that. But it is bullish, guys. Bitcoin is above that 50% level. So there's a 50% level from the all-time highs all the way down to that 98K, which we saw a couple of weeks ago. And that halfway point is 105K. And as you can see, we got a perfect bounce off that 105K today / yesterday. We are above the 50-day EMA as well. So this is bullish. So on the short term, I am expecting continuation to the upside. If we start to close candles below 105, like this, below the 50-day EMA range like that, then maybe we do see a move down to that 92K. But for now, if we are ranging above there, then I am seeing a breakout. So if we can form a solid base above 105K, I am seeing a break to the upside. If we start to lose 105K and test that as resistance, I am seeing a move down to 92K. Okay, very simple, guys, very simple. And the 105K is the line in the sand at the moment. So these are the levels that I am looking at, guys. So this is on the short term. Obviously, long term, I am seeing a push up to this level up here. So the bull flag lines up nicely with these old tops. So there's a top here in March, the November, December top over there, and a potential top over here. Not sure when the top is going to happen. But this line is a great target, guys. If you are long at the moment, anywhere along this line will be a good target. So I'm going to leave that over there. Nice target for Bitcoin. And do we break out and get that explosive move to the upside, that kind of blow off top move? I'm not sure, but I do see a move. Just climb the stairs all the way up here to this line. This would be a great TP zone, guys, and a great place to realize some gains of the crypto cycle thus far. So that is looking at Bitcoin, of course. And if we have a look at quarter 3, If we look at quarter three over here, typically it's pretty flat and average. You know, nothing major expected. And if we look at the monthly returns, we see July, you know, average of about, you know, call it 7-8%. August relatively flat, and September slightly bearish. People do say September is bearish, so let's wait and see. So basically, we could get like the range to continue over here in quarter three. That is definitely expected. So maybe a little bit of sideways and up. My bias is to the upside, and then of course quarter four being bullish. So I've got a, you know, bullish bias here for quarter three and quarter four. I do see this happening. So, you know, whether you buy at 107K or at 102K or 92K, I do think this kind of zone over here would be a great buying opportunity for Bitcoin for that next leg up, of course. Let's get into Solana quickly. I have taken a Solana long position. We're currently at about that break-even zone over there. What I saw here for Solana, if you guys are interested in the analysis, is that, you know, we're starting to form lower highs to the downside, and you see we recently got rejected off the 200-day EMA, which is always expected when you do break out, and we are below that. What you can see now, guys, is that we have this breakout over here. You can see over here. Now we are potentially retesting that. Okay, so can we come down to the 50% level at about that $141 zone? Of course we can, guys. This is a genuine target for Solana. But what I'm seeing as well is that there is this momentum line to the upside. So this could be, you know, the confluence zone where the support does line up with the potential SR flip of this declining resistance. So I'm potentially seeing this low being defended, and if this low is defended, then we shouldn't see it being taken out. So that is where my stop loss is. That is where my idea is wrong. I'm saying that this low is most likely going to get defended. I also like this price action. Often at a bottom, you get that kind of 1-2 pump. You can see over here, 1-2 pump like that. Then you form that next low, and then you go for it again, guys. We've seen this many times before. So that is the trade at the moment. Currently at break even, so it's not too late to join in on this trade. 1-2 pump, but we could go down to 141. So if you wanted to put your order over there, or just dollar cost average in this region between, you know, 148, 149, and 141, that would be a decent trade. But I've gone in over there. Nice risk to reward of 5-1. If we hit that upper bound of 260, I do see this as the range high. This is of course deviation. But the move to here is a risk reward of just under 3-1. So not favorable, but not terrible. And I do see this low being defended, guys. Ethereum is struggling a bit as well. You can see we are stuck below that 50% level of the recent move. I do want to see Ethereum above 2,500. So if we can get above 2,500, it's going to be looking much better for Ethereum, and we can start to look for longs on Ethereum above there. You know, stop below there if you are aggressive, or we can be slightly more defensive and put our stop there, and obviously targeting those regions which, you know, we have been waiting for a long time for. So will we see these range highs? I do think it's possible because we do have that deviation. Now, this was the range low over there, range high. We deviated the range low. Now we're above there, and we got that retest over here perfectly of the range low. I was unfortunately on leave, so I could not catch that move. That was a very obvious move coming into that 2,100 zone over there. Massive level over here, you know, massive level for years over there. Resistance, huge high over here, you know, when we're starting to form the start of the bull markets, of course, and that was, you know, retested as support after deviating. So massive level for Ethereum, 2,300. If you are defensive, very good region to put your stop loss. You know, should we see this break again, it would be kind of bad news. But of course, guys, the upper target for a swing trade on Ethereum has to be that 4,000 level. So this gives us a risk reward of 4.2-1. So, you know, my trigger point would be waiting for multiple candles above 2,500 and for ETH to get the bull cross. We haven't had the bull cross. We did think that we were going to get the bull cross over here when Ethereum was at you know, above the 50% level, that macro 2750. but it was a bit of a fake out and a liquidity grab. Of course, I think a lot of players were long, so that liquidity all got grabbed into the key level over there. So now all I'm waiting for is that 2,500 to be reclaimed, and I think that is a great place for a long on Ethereum, guys. Great place for a long on Ethereum. XRP, also breaking out over here, and it's kind of just been grinding over there, still above these EMAs. I might get into a XRP trade. I do think the risk reward at the moment is good. I think sellers could be exhausted. If you are defensive over there, if you are aggressive, you could look for a move like this, 5-to-1 risk reward over there, or you could just dollar cost average in the zone over there with a very defensive stop loss over there, still giving you about a 3-to-1 risk reward. So that is not a bad idea. Another test of that $2 zone for XRP could be on the cards and could be a great area to jump into some XRP longs. Let's have a look at USDT dominance quickly. Haven't looked at this in a while. Basically, stuck below the 50% level, just below 5%, guys. So this is pretty key, guys. This is huge, actually pretty huge for the program. If we can stay below this level, then I am seeing this range low be, the target, the next targets. And, once we see this range low, which maybe we see it in Q3, something like this, we get a nice leg down, would be really bullish for altcoins, come back and retest. And I'm seeing a breakdown, something like that. This is what I am looking for, guys, and I think this would be the end of the cycle. Of course, if USDT dominance comes down here, that's going to be looking quite like a top for the cycle. We must definitely watch out. So, if you are very long on crypto, coming down to that 3.8%, this could be TP1 from a lot of trades that we did get into early on the cycle. TP1 over there, and then final TP. You have to leave a moon bag for this because this is where those kind of exponential moves will come. A little bit of chop in this area over here, and this would be the place where we take profits, take most of our chips off the table, guys. So that is the plan, of course, for USDT dominance. Watch out for that 4.97%. If we start to close multiple candles above there, then that could be a warning sign that maybe we need to come up and test these higher levels for another buying opportunity, guys. USDC dominance, haven't looked at this in a while, but this basically filled the fair value gap to perfection. We had this fair value gap drawn here for a while now. I was obviously on leave here, filled this to perfection, and now we are stuck below that key 50% level. If I just drag this a bit lower and make it a bit more accurate, if we start, if we're closing below the zone over here, it is looking good for the crypto market. What I want to see is for more candles to close below that 200-day EMA, guys. I want to get below the 200-day EMA for USDC dominance, and then this is looking like a potential bear flag. Draw off, you guys. Bear flag over there, something like that, and bear flag, obviously price targets. I would like to see this be taken out. This is, of course, the range low, and this marked the market top. So this was the market top in March, the market top in December, and most likely the market top again for the next leg up. And, this does look somewhat like a bear flag. If you can break down this level, then that would be the target. And that probably lines up quite nicely with this move over there. Get that move over there. This is the bear flag, of course, over there. And that's coming down perfectly into that 1.2%. And this would be pretty huge, guys. If we look at it another way and say that, it is technically in a bullish market structure, right? So we've seen this over here. This is a key level, of course. So this could be, we could be getting that kind of higher low over here before seeing higher prices. So we must definitely watch out, and we must just know where our levels are and lines in the sand. I wouldn't want to see USDC dominance get above the most recent 50%. So that's going to be from 2.6 all the way over here. This is going to be a massive red flag, guys. If USDC dominance does get above this level over here, it will be looking quite scary. Will definitely be looking quite scary. This could be the line in the sand. We'll obviously have a look when we get there. But if we break below here, if if you look at this from a risk reward perspective, you could be getting into your crypto longs, targeting over there, and then having your stop below there. And that gives us a risk reward of like about 2.3 to 1. Can we get a little bit more accurate with our entry? We could enter in a little bit lower. Lower for crypto or higher for USDC dominance, something like that. Or you can be a bit more aggressive with the stop. That's how you're going to get your almost perfect risk reward. But basically, you don't want to see it above 2.15%. You do want to see it below that 1.8%, and then 1.1% would be the kind of target. Can this happen now? Can happen at any moment, guys. But these are the important levels, and these are the levels that you need to be marking off on your charts for sure. So look at total, guys. So yeah, I've had this. You guys know, for the people that watch often, I've been speaking about this for a while now. We did get the ultimate opportunity. Again, I was unfortunately on leave, so I didn't get into this. But remember what the plan was, guys. The plan was break out of this downtrend, get above the 50% level, and test the 50% level as support. So from a chartist and technical analysis point of view, this is an absolute golden opportunity over here, guys. The opportunity was basically get above 3 trillion, test 3 trillion as support, which has been done now. Above, see breakout over there, above 3 trillion, test 3 trillion as support, and then off we go. And we do have, our targets. These would be our targets up here. So this upper line, of course, goes from the 2017 cycle to the 2021 cycle, and we extend that, of course, all the way over there. This would be the upper bound, potential target. And then if we do look at the highs this cycle, we have the March highs, November highs, and if we extend that onwards, then we do get this kind of upper target over here. So this gives us the two targets. This would be the kind of conservative target. This would be the aggressive target. Not much range here. I mean, a trade all the way to, just below 4.5 trillion would be a good trade. But this is the kind of risk reward that we are looking for at the moment. And, is the low in, guys? Was this move down to $3 trillion the low? Potentially, guys. So, if you are looking for longs, you could get into something over there, stop below there, and then looking for a move up here. And this is a huge risk reward of 6 to 1. 6 to 1 is obviously aggressive. If you want to be defensive on this, you could look at a trade just like that. Bang. 4.5 to 1 risk reward. That's of course assuming that this low is in. So it's a little bit lower over there. This would be a very aggressive trade, right? We don't want to see this low get taken out. Of course, if we start to close candles below here, that could be a telltale signal as well. But this would be a typical trade that you are looking for, a risk reward. It looks like, we could be breaking out of this as well pretty soon. So massive level over here. If you can get above that $3.5 trillion, I would say $4.5 trillion is next, and that would be, basically the final leg. There is another, where these lines meet is June next year. So this would be kind of like a prolonged cycle all the way to June next year. That's where the lines cross. In my opinion, that though, you probably get an explosive move. This is where your gains are made, and then people will get sucked in, and then bear market. That's what I'm looking at, guys. Obviously not that aggressive, and obviously not going to zero, but this is what typically happens in crypto cycles. So we have to be wary of that. So that is kind of the outlook or the macro analysis for crypto, guys. I do see at least 4.5 trillion, 5.5 trillion. That is the target. That is where I'm going to be dollar cost averaging out of my spot positions. I'll be selling, guys. I'll be selling most of my cryptos in this area over here. Okay, what else is looking interesting today? A little bit of a green day, of course, today. Yesterday was a red day, and it's just, the volatility is real. If you have a look at the TradFi quickly, We have also nailed this dollar move. Of course, we spoke about the deviation above the range high. You guys can have a look at this. We spoke about this in December last year, saying that this is a deviation above the range high. What happens after a deviation above the range high is you visit the range low. And what's most likely going to happen is we're going to break down. So what's happened is deviated above, visited the range low, got the perfect retest, and down we go. So you see the dollar struggling. The target for the dollar is, of course, the zone over here at about 90, 91. It's, of course, if you join, if you've got this low over here, this low over here, coming into this low over there, that would be your, low for the dollar this cycle. And this will most likely line up with the high for S&P 500, the high for the NASDAQ, the high for crypto, etc., etc. That is that zone over there. When the dollar hits about that 91 zone, again, another reason to be selling out of potential TradFi positions. If you are more of a swing trader, if you are an investor, holding this for tens of years, then of course you're just buying every day and this doesn't matter at all. S&P 500, super bullish. We spoke about the V-shaped recovery. It just looks like the COVID. What happened after the COVID dip? Well, it just went straight up. So I'm expecting it to go straight up. Of course, not a huge candle to the upside like this. Obviously, it's unrealistic, but just a grind up, just like that. Grind to the upside. That's exactly what happened after the COVID dip. Bang, grind to the upside for years. Okay, little dip over there, of course, and grind to the upside is most likely going to be the outcome of this V-shaped recovery, guys. Whenever you get a V-shaped recovery, you do normally just get a grind. So here we saw a little bit of a kind of V-shaped recovery. I do remember this being the geopolitical tensions and that, we got a little bit of a scare, dump down, and we had a solid stellar run over there. So expecting another stellar run after that. NASDAQ, of course, looks very similar, but more aggressive there, but nice V-shaped recovery. And we spoke about this being a V-shaped recovery for a while now, guys. We saw the size of these candles over here. These candles like that only happen at the lows, guys, the lows. So very, very aggressive, big players buying, of course. Candles like that does show you that it's the bottom. V-shaped recovery, and we spoke about what happens after a V-shaped recovery. Pretty simple. So look at gold. Gold is grinding over there, of course, looking like another high over here. Didn't take out this high, but basically did. If you put it on a line chart, it looks like a all-time high. But it is not an all-time high. Gold top in potential does look a little bit distributive. Over here, some kind of triple top. Move up. Top. Let's see if we get another top. If we break this, we're probably going to break out. But let's see. Personally, wouldn't be long in gold. But again, always happy to be wrong. If we look at oil, of course, massive move to the upside there. We spoke about, the strategy for oil is normally buy oil at about like $65, $55. It's been ranging in the zone for a while. We were buying in the 65 to, let's call it even 60, this zone over here. You basically buy it and then sell it. Buy it, sell it. But here, of course, we spoke about this ages ago with the kind of war news. But, this looks like the war's over, guys. Huge candle like this, something like that. Big players are selling. Of course, we are now at those levels over there below the range low. And this might come down, guys. Who knows what's going to happen with this? But this zone over here was a buy zone, which we spoke about in May. Spoke about a potential move up there. Not sure that's going to happen. But we did see this as a low. So the RSI creates a bullish divergence over here. Natural gas, so look at everything. Yeah, been very boring. but somewhat bullish. But who knows? Who trades natural gas? Anyways, interesting one is MicroStrategy. So this is looking quite bullish as well. Obviously, bullish divergence over here with this low, and of course, we're not at these levels over here, but as long as MicroStrategy is above this 50% level, it is bullish, and the 50-day EMA. So, a little bit more to go here, but if we can get above the 50-day EMA and the 50% level and get a nice grind over here, I do think it will be going back up to all-time highs. But if we do lose this 50% level and start to struggle over here, maybe we can get a bounce off here, or continue to that range low over there. But only time will tell, guys. Only time will tell. But yeah, guys, very boring market at the moment. The only longs I'm in at the moment will be a Bitcoin long from 102K. Got in that, I think around here. Got into that long. Didn't get stopped out, of course. Stop losses over here. And then I am in that Solana long, which I just got in the other day. But guys, thanks so much for joining the stream, and we will see you on Friday. Cheers for now.